Hello everyone, and in today's video we're going to be walking through some of the technical changes that we made with one of our athletes when they came to my home, Glasgow, where I coached them in a double in person. Anyways, I thought we'd film it, share what we worked on, and break down what would be beneficial possibly for you. So Natasha, she's a bit a bit more of a newer, making awesome progress and everything, a bit newer into the rowing journey. She rowed 25 years ago, but just with sculling and stuff like that, coming in at a bit more of a beginner level. So thought we could just kind of cover what we were working on, break it down. And again, regardless of what level you're at, if you're just about to race the Olympics, if you're taking your first strokes, some of the time you're often working on the exact same things, just at different levels. So just at the start of the session, one of the first things we were working on was getting the feet sorted, obviously, but just general blade work and shape was good for Natasha when her blades were squared. And what was interesting, we kind of noticed as we introduced feathering and squaring, that some other problems came about. So the first thing we really wanted to work on, you'll probably notice as we go along as soon as we started with these feather strokes, the first thing that happens is those blades start dipping down towards the water, and kind of that idea of like that safety blanket when we are okay, actually, that first stroke after the square blade was good, but kind of as she started to bed into the old habits, first thing that would happen is the blades start to get too close to the water when she gets to the catch here. And obviously for her to square, she has to push the hands down and then lift them up again, just creating more movement, creating more action going on in the forearms, which leads to more tension. If we just go back a little bit towards when she was squared, I just really think that when she was rowing with square blades, it was just far more loose. Anyways, what we did, so we didn't actually get this bit on camera, was just generally thinking about keeping our hands lower. So as we see here, I did get this on footage, but with just a bit of a change here where I believe I called tap your hands down. As anybody that's been on training camp with me is aware, something that we drill in, something one of my old coaches, Colin, just drilled in. If there was one thing he taught me, it was tapping down more so that you can have that simple movement. And just as a result here, you can just see the catch improvement much better. Still could do with squaring a little bit earlier, but generally when she does tap down enough with the blade, has that blade squared earlier, that she was getting a far better catch. So yeah, see there's the change. Boom, such a better catch. Just looking at this left blade here, compared to maybe when she started off rowing. God damn it, I'm so bad at finding the bits going backwards. Bear with me here. I haven't done a YouTube video in a while, so maybe a bit rusty. But anyways, I can't be arsed scrolling through here and figuring out where they are. Yeah, there was the example there. You just see that super close to the water, super late square, blade going in. So the two changes she made, carried the hands lower on the way forward and then squared that blade earlier. Obviously easier when you're sat in a double and someone's holding the balance, but something that we really drill in, we focus. If you're not preparing right going into the catch, if you're not setting yourself up for a good catch, your grip and connection is never going to be as good as possible. You're not going to be able to drive with your legs as good as possible. You're not going to be able to hang, suspend. You're not going to come through the finish with connection, and then your finish is not going to be as good as possible. So we really like to start with shape, which means tapping down the hands low and then squaring the blade early. We really like to start with that because it's a really good controllable thing that you can do. The thing is, people hate doing it because it makes them feel uncomfortable. Like, if you want to make changes, you got to be okay with being uncomfortable. The best way to have an easy, comfortable row where you stay in your comfort zone is by not changing anything. So you should seek discomfort. You should seek these kind of challenges. This is the whole point in rowing. Well, you don't have to. You can stay where you're at. That's the thing, is when you go out in a session, you're making the decision about how much improvement do you want to make, and everybody has their limit in terms of when do I stop pushing, when have I pushed it a little bit too far, when am I going to revert to what I'm used to and what I'm comfortable with. Or the real difference is, in terms of progress, is how tenacious can you be with just ruthless putting yourself out there and no fear, and learning to crave that discomfort and that feeling of, whoa, that feels weird, or I didn't like that. So long as it's with the right intentions. But yeah, you can see here, even so, Natasha, she's gone back to letting the blade dip a little bit closer to the water here, if you ask me, in that late squaring. If we just fast forward a little bit, I think where she had it the best was maybe around here. I don't know. Yes, I got it at the right spot. That was the best catch. You just see the difference in the placement. So much more direct, so much more simple. So the next thing that we worked on with Natasha was just generally improving this relaxation and this timing at the front. So yeah, her daughter actually came up as well, who we've done work with as well. So both of them came up. I coached both of them. They were actually, she's far more experienced than Natasha, but the cool thing is, again, they were working on the same things. Maybe that was because I was just being lazy and I just didn't want to think about something else that they could work on. But at least the way I saw it, I was like, oh, you guys both need to work on the same thing. So cool. So I don't think the GoPro, for some reason, kind of dropped out a couple times here. We spun, and the first thing we did was the idea of sitting at the front with your hands flat on the blade like this and tapping the hand down, and then lifting your hand up and letting the blade kind of fall back into your hand. So obviously you're doing this in a single, it's going to be tip here, but if you can do this in a double or a stable boat, or if you're okay doing it in a single and you are all right with falling in and it's safe to fall in, I would definitely give this a go. Just the idea, take the weight off the handle, let the handle come up, and just practice that motion. And that's basically what you want in the catch. You don't want to use your traps to bring the blade in. You just want to let gravity suck the blade in and do the work for you. The blade will fall in if you just let it fall in. And when you try and use your muscles, you take your tension up here, your loading goes up here. When you try to drive, it's going to be so much harder to transfer that load. Another kind of way you can think about it is when you do deadlifts in the gym, if you do deadlifts in the gym, or any lift in the gym, particularly pulling or, extension motions, if you think about trying to be as loose as possible in your upper body when you're pulling hard and get that balance between being loose and calm, but also being incredibly powerful, which I think this is what Natasha and I were talking about a little bit about. The hard thing with rowing is the catch is quick, but it's patient. The leg drive is long and slow in some ways, but it's also fast and dynamic. So I don't know if that's helpful or if that's just more confusing. But the next thing we worked on was what she was doing at the catch here. So her tendency, because she was so tense, she would get into the catch and get out here, and most people do this. They get out here and they go, get me out of here. And they don't want to spend this time letting the spoon fill up, feeling the load, being loose and patient, and then getting that grip and then going like that. Most people just go, get me out of here, get into the finish. It's more comfortable there. So one thing we're just trying and playing around with was how she placed at the catch and how she put her blades in and was patient to load as we nearly fell in there. And yeah, see that example there, me whacking it in versus just being a bit, oh, fuck's sake. I wasn't sharing the screen. That doesn't really matter. Yeah, I'm not going to edit that. I can't be honest. It's free content. Yeah, we were just talking a little bit about the patience and everything and how you don't want to whack the blade in too much. And you want to play around. One thing we're talking about as well is, as much as the coach can give you the information to go away and make the change and make the improvement, you need to kind of play around with it yourself. And coaches will use their words, or you listen to, these words on the video. You take them, play around with them, see which ones work. If there's another word for you that helps you understand it better, great, use that. So that's what we were just talking. The catch, you're kind of just constantly experimenting. Too early, too late, too aggressive, too patient, and seeing what feels good. Natasha's first stroke here, I would say that was I really liked that one actually. Because these clips are so long, actually scrolling stuff is pretty hard to get dialed in on it. But yeah, just see that was a really good one there. That idea of patience and placing and not being too rushed to get away. And I think her first stroke that she did there was the best one. But as we get moving, I was kind of saying, like, play around with that patience, that idea of place. And there's almost a brief moment when you pause, when you let that spoon fill up with water before you go. So that was just one thing. And again, we couldn't work on this if we hadn't already been working on shape. So tapping down, squaring early, and then being loose on the front. If you don't have those three things there, you're always going to find it trickier to do this. So this is just how we're kind of working through the stroke. There you can see, just again playing around and experimenting. See here, the grip looks so much more loose though, for sure. Grip looks so much better, which is good. Definitely need to transfer that more into the upper back though. I mean the upper shoulders. Yeah, patience loads better there. So much better here. We try to do the normal rowing here. And again, it's hard. The tricky thing is when you make this change, you get more grip, you get more speed, the boat runs faster underneath you, and you think, right, I need to go. Before you know it, you're back being rushed. So this is one thing we're really talking about was you're in control of the boat. You dictate what the boat does. You're the boss. You're not letting the boat tell you how to row. You're in control and you're patient and you flow into the front. So that was a good thing that we worked on here, especially as I joined in, was just that speed. It can be so much harder to get that grip. So you almost need to be more patient as the boat gets running. So, and again, shape was better. Her squaring was good. That was allowing her to place properly at the catch. I think this is a couple days ago now. I'm pretty sure the last thing we worked on was connection at the finish. Relaxation looking a lot better. And again, she's keeping up these good habits. Tapping down and squaring earlier. Maybe not every stroke, but it was getting there. So actually one thing we noticed when she was rowing, we're playing around with why does it sometimes seem like you're more relaxed when you're doing square blade compared to when you're doing feathered. And what we found out was that she used to have a shoulder injury that she's coming back from. Her forearm strength hadn't quite caught up. So her left blade wasn't squaring as well as her right blade was. One really good indication of relaxation that you want to look for is when you can almost hear or feel that sort of click of the oar. Now, some coaches say you should do a gradual square. I disagree with that because while it looks smoother because the blade's gradually changing, in my opinion, what it means you're doing is you're spending more time tensing your wrist to control that squaring of the blade gradually. What I think is better is if you just either have the blade feathered or have the blade squared. The blade is designed to sit feathered or sit squared. So all you ever need to do is make one change at the finish here when you turn it onto the feather, and then leave it alone and let it sit there, and then make one change on the way forward when you turn it square. And if you do that loosely and relaxed, you'll feel that sort of click and that loose kind of click of the collar. If you don't hear that, one thing we'll do sometimes as well is we get people to grip the oar as hard as you possibly can and then try and turn the oar with the hardest possible grip that you can. And then from there, go to the opposite side where you go as loose as possible. Oh my God. Loosey-goosey, loose fingers, just imagine you're sort of like that. I used to do this thing when I was driving to annoy Polly, and I would go like this on the steering wheel while I was driving to just be a freak. Anyways, total looseness, total relaxation. Feel that loose sort of click of the oar. See how little energy you can use by turning that blade feathered or squared. When I was racing, I would literally just think about two things. I would think about at the finish, feel that click here, which meant if I felt that click, that I was 1, loose, and 2, taking the blade out cleanly, and then 3, taking it out with shape as well. And then the second part I would think about feeling that click again when I turned it squared. And if I did that early, feeling that click early, it meant I was squared going into the front. I had shape going into the front. I could be loose. And if I did those two things, I'd take the blade out cleanly, have a stable platform to recover on. And then if I squared on the way going forward, it meant I was set going into the catch, and I'd be loose, and I would get connected, and I'd be able to push. And I wouldn't even think about pushing when I got better at this, and when I sort of was doing races and the international scene and trials and everything, was just staying loose, thinking about clicking the blade at the finish, clicking the blade at the catch. Anyways, yeah, that's it. That's a drill you can try. Is just practice, see how little. And this is one thing where we'll say a lot of the time. So with Natasha, for example, we looked to her weight so we could build her strength in her forearms. And we've done this with other people as well. Sometimes when we think that, they might have really good shoulder strength or back strength or something like that. And there's always weak areas in your chain. For Natasha at the moment, it's the forearms. So we're strengthening the forearms in the gym, which was useful to see, because sometimes you can't really make these changes if you don't know, if you're lacking the strength in one way. Cool. Jumping all over the place here, but something's better than nothing. Don't let perfect get in the way of good. Like this video if you liked it. If you don't like it and you've gotten this far, you're a friggin' loser, but dislike it, I don't care. And subscribe if you want more of this content. Let me know if you prefer maybe a mix of like some of our athletes or the international crews or my stuff or whatever. I'm sure some of our athletes would be happy sharing their footage on YouTube. So, okay, bye everybody.